To our third speaker, Jan Schmidt is an advisor on the Department of European Union International Cooperation from the Agency for Renewable Resources in Germany, and is going to talk about overview of the European Union landscape of forest research. Jan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Rode, thank you very much for this introduction. I will share my screen, and so I think the title is a bit misleading because I will talk about the strategic research and innovation agenda that is developed within the U4 project. Everybody can see the presentation mode?
Shows well. Yeah, thanks, Jan.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I will talk about the strategic research and innovation agenda that we are currently developing in the U4 project. And yeah, I will talk about the process, how we developed it. Then I will shortly introduce the content of the SRIA, and then I will give a short outlook on the further proceedings. And as Mika and Anna yeah, already turned out, or as they underlined, that the partnership, the European Partnership on Forests and Forestry for a Sustainable Future, stands in a line with other partnerships, like, for example, Biodiversa plus Water for All, and so on, you name it. And all these partnerships, they have one important thing in common, and this is that they are based on SRIA, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. And such a SRIA lines out the most important research and innovation topics that should be tackled within the partnership. So more or less, the SRIA is the strategic background document of each partnership. And such a SRIA we are also developing within the U4 project. So this is the main purpose of the U4 project, to develop a strategic research and innovation agenda, and to develop a stakeholder engagement hub as well, which is more or less the basis for the further partnership work. And it is the aim of our project that we will develop this strategic research and innovation agenda not just out of the blue, and that it is developed by only a very few scientists that know that think that they know how the world is working and what the world is needed, what the world is needing, but we would like to cooperate with all the relevant stakeholders that are affected by the SRIA, by the partnership, and they should also benefit by the SRIA and by the partnership. So from this perspective, it is very important to underline that we are developing the SRIA together with all the relevant stakeholders. And so we need to involve them in an iterative process, and we have developed several stakeholder engagement formats to achieve this engagement of as many stakeholders as possible. And the most important stakeholder engagement instrument here were the so-called regional and European stakeholder workshops, but I will get back to them a little bit later. And when it comes to the stakeholder engagement and stakeholder involvement, we relied on the methodology that is provided by the European Union. So you all may have heard about the so-called quadruple helix, which sounds very fancy, but it just means that the four most relevant stakeholder groups considered are governance and regulators, industry and business, research and academia, and of course civil society. And I heard about models that is already talking about the pentuple helix, or something that is includes 5 stakeholder groups. When I started my EU business 15 years ago, we still worked with the triple helix. So it seems that the helix things are continuously progressing and advancing. But for the SRIA development and the U4 project, we are working with this
Uh-oh.
We lost you, Jan. I think we've lost Jan.
Yeah, looks like it.
His camera was lost first.
Yes. Mika, can you give him a ring and ask if he's
Of course, yeah. Just a
able to
minute.
come back?
It's actually already shows in
Mika,
presentation.
hello, can you hear me?
Okay, I can listen to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry,
All
I'm
right.
so sorry.
So
No,
can you go
no.
back? Can you go back to your presentation, Jan?
Yes,
Okay.
just a second. I'm very sorry. So let's hope.
Not that one.
I'm not sure what you see now. Yes.
Not that one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Carry on.
Yeah, so the stakeholder engagement timeline, I think, yeah, I will speed this up. So I already mentioned the regional stakeholder workshops and the European workshops. So we achieved this right now, and I think the next step that is ahead of us now is the SRIA writing group. A few of you might have already received an invitation by Mika for this SRIA writing group, and this group is meant to finalize the SRIA until or within the first half of the next year, 2025. I already mentioned the stakeholder workshops. So we had 2 rounds of stakeholder workshops, and the idea was to gather all, or to assemble all the relevant stakeholders from forestry and the forest-based sector, and to ask them, so what is needed? Which research and innovation topics do you perceive as most relevant that should be addressed within a European partnership? And we had the workshops in 6 different European regions. All workshops followed the same methodology to make sure that the results are comparable. And we had approximately 40 participants in each workshop, and the workshop lasted 1 day, and we discussed 4 main topics. And these 4 main topics were within the fields of forest ecology, forest management, forest products, and social aspects and policy. And within this first region, in this first round of regional workshops, we received more than 2,000 ideas and comments related to the forestry and forest-based sector. And here you can see how this was distributed among the different chapters or topics that were discussed. And we did a little bit an adaptation and sorting and filtering, because we had many redundancies and also some only single word contributions that we kicked out, and we cleaned it up a little bit. And finally in the SRIA we ended then up with, how can we see it here? No. With significantly less R&I research and innovation topics. And after this first round of regional workshops, we processed with the so-called thematic working groups. They were led by U4 project partners, and within these working groups, we were discussing further these research and innovation topics and tried to condense them. These more than 2,000 comments, we condensed them to, as you see here now in the right table, to some 130 topics that can be found in the SRIA right now. And so this first draft we presented in May this year to the public, and we also had quite a large online commenting phase where the interested stakeholders had the chance to again comment on the SRIA, and we ended up with some 133 research and innovation topics that are mentioned in the SRIA that should be covered by the activities of the partnership. very quickly, I will rush through the chapters that are part of the SRIA right now. So we have the chapter A, which is forest ecology, and the forest ecology, mainly addresses the two crises: climate change and the decrease of biodiversity. And within this chapter, we have assembled all the research and innovation topics that are addressed to the adaptation of forest ecosystems to tolerate greater and more variable climate change impacts and other issues. Then we have the chapter B, the forest management, and Anne already mentioned this, that the forest management systems in Europe are quite fragmented, and so this is also a challenge that is addressed or is mentioned within this chapter of the SRIA, and it is the objective of this chapter to provide a science-based justifications and solutions for the diversification of forest management in European forests, resulting in a more multifunctional and economically viable forest structures for the future. Then we have the third chapter, which is forest products. Oops, sorry. Well, here we have forest products, and this chapter is, of course, dedicated to the higher deployment of wood products in established fields and new territories, and to the promotion of newly introduced wood species and underused ones, and many other topics that are relevant for this quite wide range of the issue of forest products. And the fourth chapter is dedicated to the aspects of to the issues of social aspects and policy. This is the chapter that is the largest one, because I think it covers a large variety of topics, and it seems to address everything that does not fit into the chapters before, into the other three chapters. And this is especially the challenges of urbanization, globalization, digitalization, and of course, so the climate and biodiversity crisis is addressessed, whereas it is already addressed in the chapters before. But so this chapter tackles or addresses a lot of research and innovation themes. And the further proceeding is now, I already mentioned that we have presented this draft SRIA to the broader public, and did an online commenting process and a little bit of a revision. And now we need to finalize the SRIA in that way that there are still some missing parts. So the content, the four chapters that I already presented today, they are more or less fixed. We will not change them anymore, but there are still some missing parts that where, for example, we need to explain the methodology, and we need to explain what the SRIA is needed for, and so on. And this will be done by the so-called SRIA writing group. I already mentioned this, and the SRIA writing group will start its work on the in the beginning of the next year in January, I think. And of course, I already mentioned these missing parts of the SRIA. One very important missing part is a so-called roadmap, and the roadmap is or should serve as an orientation paper or an orientation framework that explains which of the research and innovation topics mentioned in the four SRIA chapters should address or how these topics should be addressed by the partnership, and in which timeframes, and which could be adequate funding mechanisms, and so on. So this is something like an implementation guideline, this roadmap, and this is also was discussed in a second round of regional workshops that took place in this year between July and October, and it followed more or less the same logic as the first round of regional workshops. workshops. And here we discussed with the relevant stakeholders what are their ideas how to implement this research and innovation topics, which are the adequate funding mechanisms, and which could be the relevant or the adequate timeline to address these topics. And we put the results or this is what we are doing right now. We put these results into this SRIA roadmap, and we will further elaborate and finalize it as a part of the SRIA within the SRIA writing group. And here you can see this is a bit of a mess, so but this is depicting maybe a little bit how many thoughts and ideas we collected during our workshops together with the stakeholders. And so here you just see a few of the ideas that were mentioned within the workshops, and I think this depicts quite well how many ideas have been mentioned, and it also shows the challenge to take up all the ideas and to somehow order it and bring it into a single document that displays or explains in an understandable manner how the future of the European forests and forest research could look like. But this is what we are doing in the U4 project right now, and as Mika already said, we will finalize the SRIA within the first half of the next year. And of course, once the SRIA is elaborated, it still needs to be approved by the partnerships management body, but this is still ahead of us. And finally, I think it's very important to underline this, because this comes up again and again. This SRIA is not an exclusive document. So everything that is not in the SRIA does not mean that it can't be funded. So this is very important to say. The SRIA will be revised continuously during the partnership is implementing, and it will be assessed and revised if necessary. So it's a living document that will change over the years, quite sure. Okay, so this is it. Again, I'm very sorry for this technical hiccups, but I hope you could at least get a little bit what the U4 project is doing. And if there are any questions, please turn back to me anytime. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jan. It was great presentation, and our speakers are so efficient that they have already answered some of the questions that people have put in the chat box. But feel free to add a few more. And I would pass the floor to Nicolas Picard, if he's around, that he's going to maybe have his own questions or introduce and invite people to ask questions now to the discussion part.
Yes, thank you, Jose, and good afternoon. I will be very short because my point is just to make a transition towards the general discussion that we are going to have now. But as you said already that the questions have to be put in the chat box. So please put your questions into the chat box. And what I would like to raise very briefly is that, as you've seen, much of the effort of the SCAR Forest Group has been put into the development of the Forest Partnership in the last years. But still, the mandate of the SCAR Forest Group goes beyond the partnership. So we have some ideas of what to do during and after the partnership, and that was one of the questions raised by Anne. And but still, we'll be very pleased to get your views, to get your insight from you on those questions. And also, of course, we will continue our efforts with the partnership. But what could be done in addition to the partnership? What would be your expectations towards the SCAR Forest Group? So that are the main questions we have, and we would like to hear from you on those questions. But of course, we are also ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
So thank you, Nicolas. And so again, people, if you have any questions, just put them on the chat box, and we will present them to our panel. And while you're doing that, I have one question that it's always my question coming from a southern European country, which is forest fires. This is something that affects us every summer in the southern countries, and is starting to affect people in the central and northern countries. And so the question is for the panel, for the three of you, how do you think that this partnership can tackle this problem, and what can mitigate the forest fires that have been affecting us so much? Anyone wants to comment?
Well, I would say that the partnership alone cannot solve any problem or any issue. We are simply now to pool actually the resources to get actually some of these really hot topics, if you could call them so, to be solved to some stage. But the partnership will bring then together the stakeholders, hopefully as mildly as possible, then and combine forces to get these problems solved to some extent at least, and if not completely, at least then giving some guidance so that which directions we should go, and perhaps then pull further then. But the partnership alone, there are far too high expectations actually towards the partnership, I would say, so we can't solve it within the partnership all these issues, but the partnership really to pool the resources, and then there are different levels where we need to tackle then all these issues. But you are so right, Jose. Forest fires are one of the very important topics, and it will surely be discussed there, and will be then reflected in the coming calls as well, as far as I can see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mika. And I'll pass the floor to Anne. Anne?
Yeah, thank you. Well, forest fires is one of the climate change related thing happening or increasing in forests in the same way as pests and pathogens and everything, which we expect to increase in the forest. So this is this climate change adaptation is one of the core topics in this partnership, of course. But there is some information, some scientific knowledge about this. Multi-species forestry or forests is one way to increase the resilience of forests towards many kinds of climate change disasters which are increasing, so that we are not relying on single species forest or single structures forest. But then this is of course in trade-off with the productivity often, that we choose to have several species of several age classes in forests. But this is what we are discussing now. And if we think about the northern countries, Finland, close here, we have extremely dense road network, forest road network. So of course, that's one thing which makes it easier to turn down the forest fires. But I know that in Southern Europe, your situation is such that it's quite different anyways. So I cannot answer from your behalf, but I would think that the resilience is increased by biodiverse multi-species forests. That's what the research is showing more and more.
Thank you. Jan, do you want to come in to add? Or I don't know if we lost Jan again. Before I show myself being chauvinist and saving my suggestion that instead of wood products, I would like to say that wood and cork products. I will pass the floor to Orlais. And Orlais, I wonder if you have any burning question that you would like to do, or any subject that you would like to be discussed.
Yeah, maybe 2 questions. Maybe a practical question if there are researchers here. Has or will the SRIA be published online so that people can view it when it's ready to be made available to the public? And then my other question was, and maybe it's too early for this, in the report that Anna mentioned earlier from SCAR Forest, it talked about radically new and complex innovations being more successful than routine and safe innovations. So I was wondering whether that might inspire the call topics that you plan from this partnership, or whether what kind of TRL level. Maybe that's dependent on the funders that are involved in the partnership calls, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Who wants to start?
Well, I could start here. So, Jan, you know very well, and you actually, it was not actually mentioned explicitly in the SRIA presentation, but nevertheless, so this TRL, of course, it was discussed during the last workshop as well, and this is how we actually classified then the topics among the in the chapters, so that where at which stage of the change so do we need to touch, and then on the other hand, how to reflect then this against the timeline, so that what are the so-called priority one topics we should actually get to these joint calls from the very beginning of the partnership rather than then in the later stage. And it is obvious so that this discussion will keep going, and we don't know what will still be happening throughout this or during next year when the partnership is about to get started. Then in 26, nobody can predict so that what will be the emerging hot topics that time. Then we need to immediately then tackle. When it comes to innovation and then these related projects, so it is obvious that we need to reflect this somehow in the partnership and in the coming joint calls. But at the moment, so we can't make any promises on behalf of all the funding organizations participating. So because it will be a joint decision then eventually to decide so that this is what we need to tackle at this very specific time point, and which will be then jointly decided by the partnership consortium. So it is we can't make any promises really at this point, so that how it will be done. But there are a lot of ideas also that how to get this done then. But still open. It's all open at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I've got another question here that, in fact, I got by email from the UK, and the question is: would the scope be only to promote forest growth or also indirectly to prevent forest destruction? For example, mining is destroying forests, so our bioleaching, targeting, recycling to slow down mining would prevent forest destruction? Wants to comment on that?
Sorry, is this question? Sorry, yeah, is this question related to the partnership in future or to the SRIA as such?
I don't see the question here, which you were saying.
Not, I got the question. Sorry, I got the question by email. I was reading it because somebody have sent me the question by email, and you can answer on any angle you wish. You can comment on any angle.
But can you repeat it, because I was just looking for it here and I.
Okay, so the question is: would the scope be only to promote forest growth or also indirectly to prevent forest destruction? And as example, mining is destroying forest, so our biobleaching, targeting, recycle to slow down mining would prevent forest destruction. I'll put it on the I'll copy it to the message.
I think that the focus will not be only in the forest growth. That's what we've always actually saying, that this is very much interrelated with the land use issues in general and the biodiversity and climate change mitigation, which are more than only the forest growth.
Okay, Nicholas, you want to come in?
Yes, thank you. Well, I would like to this question is interesting, and as Annie said, it's not the partnership is not restricted to forest growth, but the question is about basically land uses and how the use can shift from forest to another one. So there was this example of mining, but I would say that if we look globally, the most important factor is agriculture more than mining. And so if we look at what was written in the partnership document and in the partnership fish, this global vision was included in at least in the document. So looking at global interdependencies between the forest sector and other forest sectors. I cannot tell if those aspects will be retained finally in the SRIA or in the partnership. This is yet to be decided by the member states in the consortium and the people who would use the SRIA. But yes, these questions were addressed in a way in the documents of the partnership.
Okay, thank you. Jan, do you want to come in?
Yes, thank you. So I think also in the SRIA, it's very clear that it's not focused on forest growth only, but also on the questions of forest protection and how to prevent them from these negative negative results of land use change and so on. And I think this is especially addressed in this chapter B, forest management, and also the issue of land use change is addressed. So yes, it's not only about forest growth, but also on forest protection and preventing the negative results of land use change and so on.
Thank you. And do you want to come in?
Yeah, well, I would like to summarize so that I started my presentation about, like, was it 44% of EU land is forests? And of course, our aim is not to decrease that percentage, but to maintain or even increase it. And there are, like, this was actually discussed quite much in the SCAR plenary last week. And it's the new forces coming to forests, also solar and wind power. There's more and more pressures targeting to forests, risking the forest area so that it would decrease. So I think that this is extremely important topic.
Thank you. So we've got at least 3 more questions. One from Emmanuel Albina. Don't know if you have read it. It said, my questions refer to the international cooperation that seems to be claimed in the coming WP 2025 topic description, explicitly referring to the inclusion of third country institutions of the future partnership goals, how this dimension will consider in the development of SRIA. I don't know who wants to talk to this. Maybe Jan, if you read it. The question from Emmanuel Albina.
Sorry, I'm just...
And there's 2 other questions, one from Anna Lebre. Oh, it has already been answered.
Okay.
And another one from Pedro Barros. Pedro Barros said, considering public stakeholder awareness regarding forest sustainability, the promotion of forest productivity is often perceived as being at odds with the promotion of forest biodiversity. How can SCAR contribute to address this issue effectively? So if any of you wants to come in. And then there's another one from Stefano Grando. In the SRIA, is there a place for research on forest-based ecological corridors to preserve species and genetic flows across territories? So if you want to come into any of these questions from Stefano Grando, Pedro Barros, or Emmanuel Albina.
Yeah, maybe regarding this question of Stefano Grando, I would say yes. So at least that this issue of genetic flows, genetic research and so on is addressed in the chapter of forest ecology. So, and of course, for me, it's hard to say because I'm not a forest ecologist in which depth this is addressed. But I remember from the thematic working group meetings that this was for sure discussed. So it will be part of the SRIA. But I also have to say that the SRIA document is at a very general level. And the research and innovation topics as they are described in the SRIA, I think they will not be in the calls like this. I think that the calls might be much more specific on certain questions and also on the questions on this genetic diversity, genetic corridors, and so on. So this,
Okay. Any other comments on any of the 2 other questions from Pedro Barros or Emmanuel Albina?
Yeah, I could
go ahead.
Try to answer to Pedro Barros. All these questions are very important. And it is true that there is usually a trade-off between the forest productivity or forestry operations and wood production and biodiversity. And this what makes the SCAR, like this forest partnership, so much. We have to be collaborating with the biodiversa and the SCAR bioeconomy groups, and there's like this is so much interrelated with the other groups. But what we have been saying in general is that we should get more from less. Like it requires that the forest would not be used only for raw materials or like bioenergy, but there some higher value products would be developed from them in order to save more forest biomass, to decrease the need for cuttings. But this is a long-term hope which hasn't really developed a lot because the forest industry hasn't recently been able to develop really high-end products so that they would be scalable and cost efficient. But this was very vague reply. Hopefully Mika will say me.
Thank you. Mika, do you want to come in?
So, sorry, Anne, I was about to touch some totally other question from Emmanuel Albino when it comes to this international collaboration. So sorry, I won't save you. So you better save your skin by yourself. But anyway, to that question about this international collaboration. So it's obvious so that now we are discussing with other strategic working groups as well, like SCAR Arch, which is specifically mentioned in your question there. And you actually ask in the there in the chat how this dimension will be considered in the development of the SRIA. So in the development of the SRIA, so we have not involved so far this international collaboration. We would have been inviting third countries, so to speak, to join the SRIA development, because as you understand, and like Jan was actually explaining already, the SRIA eventually will be approved by the partnership consortium, and depending who we have there in the consortium, they together with the European Commission actually, then they will approve the final version of the SRIA. But still, the SRIA is a living document, so you wouldn't take it like a Bible, so that is what is in the RIA, so will be translated to calls. No, the SRIA is a guiding element in the partnership, of course, in a very crucial role there. But nevertheless, these environments change, so and the situations changed, and we need to be then able to reflect those in the partnership as well, so that we cannot explicitly then base everything on the SRIA alone.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that we're going to close down the question and answer session. But before we go, I'm going to pass the floor to Sarah. And Sarah will lead us through a questionnaire, just a few questions using the Mentimeter. So please bear with us and answer these few questions. For you, Sarah, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this very interesting insights. So that's what we are here about. So I just shared here with you the Menti link, but I will share also my screen so that you can see. Please let me know if you can see the Mentimeter now. Yes, you can, right? Yes. So we'll just give you 5 to 10 minutes to answer. It's only 6 questions. So if you don't mind answering to these 6 questions, and then in the end, we'll just go through very briefly through them just to check if we have all the answers collected. So we'll give you like 5 to 10 minutes to answer them, if you may. Thank you so much. Já foste ao link. Can you go to
QR code.
Sarah, I think you have to start the presentation for us to be able to start answering.
Yeah, that present, exactly.
Yep. And then if you go through the slides.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've had enough time to answer. Thank you for participating. And ask Sarah if you can go through the results. Okay, so you've seen the results as we were answering, and we will let you know. We'll send you an information on these results on the Mentimeter. And thank you very much. So I hope you have enjoyed this first webinar. And I will now give the floor to Horlijs to say goodbye to all the participants and to see you on our next webinar, probably with SCAR bioeconomy. Horlijs.
Thank you very much, Jose, and thank you all so much for attending. I think it's an exciting time for forestry research and innovation with such a major initiative, millions of euro of EU and national money being mobilized for forestry research in the coming years, probably a decade. So it's an exciting time for researchers, an exciting time for funders. And I hope you found today's webinar very useful. And I think we'll be able to send the slides and share the slides if the speakers so agree. So I'll finish there. Thank you to the team in INEAB for organising. Thank you especially to the SCAR Forest co-chairs for facilitating and working with us on this, and to Jan from U4A for presenting today also. And thank you participants for engaging so adequately and intensively in the discussions today. So we look forward to seeing you in the next SCAR Insights webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for participating. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yep. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Bye.